How is everybody this evening? Let us know where you are calling in from tonight. Pop a hello in the chat box so we know you're here. Thank you, Sue. Hope everybody's had an amazing day. Super excited for tonight. We'll just give it a couple of minutes. Hey, Shelley, welcome to you. Thank you for jumping on. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Jen and Pat. Great to see you. I thought you had visitors tonight. Good stuff. Great to have you on. Thank you for jumping on. Okay. Are you right to go, Nathan?
Yes, all ready.
Fantastic. Awesome. So welcome, welcome, welcome everybody. We will respect those people who have got on time. Thank you for being here this evening. Super, super excited. Hey, Andrew, welcome to you. Super excited to be here sharing with you tonight our Parenting Breakthrough Masterclass. So this is a combination of the most popular secrets that we shared in our 3-day parenting breakthrough. So if you were on the 3-day parenting breakthrough, some of this will be familiar. We've also got a little bit of new stuff as well, but as they say, repetition is the mother of all learning. So it is great to continue hearing this again. So thank you, Sue. Thank you for the comments there. Hey, Di, welcome to you as well. Fantastic to have you on tonight. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment. So you can see me nice and big. Hello there. Great to be on. So welcome, welcome, welcome to you. Super, as I said, super excited to have you, and a huge congratulations for joining us here tonight in our masterclass. Nathan and I have been, really grateful for all of the amazing feedback that we've had from people, and all of the, the amazing comments that we've had from people that are really, showing us in our hearts that we are on track with what we are doing here and already starting to impact people. So for those who did attend the 3-day parenting breakthrough, this, as I said, will be a combo of the best information shared over those 3 days from the feedback from the participants, right? So when we ask the participants what they like best, that is what we are sharing with you. So if you're on live tonight and this is your first time listening in, a huge welcome. Or if you are listening to the recording, once again, a huge welcome to you as well. Now, we want to acknowledge each of you for being here live tonight or on the replay. And once again, we'd love you to play all in. So please do, as we're going through this evening, give us some feedback. If we ask questions, pop your answers in. It really makes it feel more interactive for us rather than us just speaking to a screen, if that makes sense. So we love it to be nice and interactive for sure. Okay, so what I'm going to do in the Nathan, somebody's just asked to join the group. If you could please let them in. What we're going to do is ask you a couple of questions to get started. And if you can just be writing your comments down as I continue talking just for a couple of minutes, and then we will come back to those comments in a couple of minutes. So first of all, if you could share something about your family. So how many children do you have? What ages are your children? And is there something special you would like to share about your family or about your children? So just so that we've got a bit of an idea, do you have young children? Do you have school-age children? Maybe do you have teens? And each other can kind of see, oh, they've got the same age children as us. They've got 3, we've got 3. So it can just help us to really get a feel for your families and how we are similar. So that would be awesome. I can see the comments here as well. So if you keep the comments coming in, I should be able to keep up with those. That is fantastic. I've got screens happening everywhere here. So fantastic. And also I just want to ask you, why are you here tonight? Are you here because you are a parent? Are you here because you are a grandparent? Are you here because you're an educator? Or maybe you are here to support somebody. You might be here to support Nathan and I. You might be here to support a friend in their parenting journey. I know that we often have mums and daughters on. So the daughters have got the grandkids, so grandparents and adult children with grandchildren. So let us know. So 3 kids, Jen and Pat, 13, 10 and 8. Andrew, 5 kids between us, blended family, 19, 16, 14, 13 and 2. That's a beauty, Andrew. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And the other thing is I brought my magical parenting wand with me again tonight, my beautiful rose quartz garnet magic wand here. So if I could magically, just wave this parenting wand, if Nathan and I could wave this parenting wand and actually just help you to have whatever it is you want in your family, solve whatever challenge you might currently be having, or just what could we do for you? If we could just click our fingers and do something for you and your family, what would that be? How can we help you? How can we serve you? What can we help you to solve? So I'm just going to give you a quick moment for that. And then for those people who joined us on the last call, one of the most popular things we did was our meditation. So we're going to do that again as well. But I'm just going to give you a quick moment to pop your answers in. Nathan, if you see anything come up, feel free to share. So what can we magically help you do or solve or work on in your family? What is most important for you to achieve in your family? So Sue's here as an educator, which seems like an extension of being a parent and working with children. Absolutely, Sue. I'm also an educator. Well, I was a primary school teacher for many years. And yes, as educators, we actually have children in our care for a long time, right? Absolutely. And it's awesome. And I congratulate you for being here as an educator. That is absolutely awesome. So thank you for that. Okay, we'll check in on those comments a little bit later, but what I'm going to get you to do now is just relax. So if you're sitting up in a chair like me, just get yourself nice and comfy. And what we're going to do is a little bit of a visualization. So I'm just going to put my lovely music on here. And what I want you to do is close your eyes, and I want you to imagine you're at the movies, gold class, of course, right? Now, I want you to imagine there's a big screen in front of you, and you and your family are the stars of this movie. And the storyline will be exactly how you want it to be. So it's just your family. It can be your immediate family. It can be extended family. It can just be mum and dad or the parents and the kids, whoever you would like to be in this movie. There are no outsiders in this movie, just your family. It can include aunties and uncles. It can include grandparents. So I want you just to think about, as you close your eyes, and I'm doing the same, and you see this big screen in front of you, where are you? Are you at your favourite place? Is it maybe down the beach or out in the country or hiking in the bush? Are you in the backyard having a nice family barbecue? Are you on holidays somewhere overseas or somewhere in the country? Where is it that you would love to be with the kids? And let's forget about all the travel restrictions. Let's just go to town on this, right? So where are you? Who is there with you? So I want you to really to see every single person that is in this movie with you. Who is there with you? Andrew, do you have your whole family there? Tara, have you got your 6-year-old there? Geraldine, are you there with your myriad of children and grandchildren? Who is there? What is happening? So are the kids frolicking in the beach and in the water, laughing and having fun? Are you all sitting on a big picnic rug, having a nice picnic together? Are the adults having adult conversations and watching the kids laugh and play in the background? What's happening? Or maybe you're all sat around the table just having a really nice conversation with each other. So what is happening? What do you see? What's around you? Is it bush? Is it water? and you just really see the kids playing and running around. Now I want you to really tune in to how do you feel? Are you feeling happy, joyful, grateful? Are you appreciating your family and how much they mean to you and how lucky you are to have such amazing kids and such an amazing family that all gets on so beautifully, respectful of each other, playing nicely together, cooperating together, treating each other kindly, respectfully? And when is this? Is this today? Is this in the present time? Or maybe are you visualizing what's happening in a week, a month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months' time, 2 years' time, 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time, when your 6-year-old Tara is grown up, when your 2-year-old Andrew and Kelly is grown up and perhaps has a family of their own? How does that feel? Seeing your kids all grown up with a beautiful family of their own. So visualize. Or your movie might be starting from today and it might quickly progress through and you might be able to see the storyline go from today to your kids growing up, to them being adults and having their own family. And just really get in tune with how you feel. Now, we're not going to have time for the whole movie tonight, so we might have to get you to pause the movie for now, but I just want you to come out of this just feeling how you would be feeling if everything was just the way you wanted it to be. All the people you wanted to be were there, you were doing the things you wanted to do, you were feeling the feelings that you wanted to feel. How are you feeling? So slowly open your eyes, and if you feel like it, I'd love for you to share in the chat box. You don't have to. Otherwise, you can just really just feel into that. But I'd love some feedback in the chat box just to see how you enjoyed that. And if you really got into that feeling of, you know, what it felt like to have that movie playing in your mind of how things might be. Now, it might be much the same as how your family currently is, or maybe if I was doing that, 10 years ago plus, I know I would have been visualizing something very different, right? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that. Please let me know in the chat box if you enjoyed that. How do you feel about that? Are you feeling great? I'll keep an eye on the comments on that. So please do share and let us know how you feel. Now, we did promise, I might actually screen share again. And Nathan, can you let me know if you can see that screen okay?
Yes, that's great.
Awesome. So we did actually share that we are going to have a love bomb for those of you who have joined us, and for those of you who stick around to the end, worth $197. So please do stick around to the end so that you can benefit from that love bomb that Nathan and I would love to give you tonight. So who are we and why should you listen to us? And there may be people on the call tonight that don't know us very well. There might be other people who know us very well. And there might be some people who are just getting to know who we are and what we're about. So my name's Lillian, of course. I'm a parenting strategist. I do have a degree in Bachelor of Education. So I was a primary school teacher for about 17 years. I'm the mum of 2 adult sons, one very challenging as a child and teenager. I'm author of 6 books. I'm also a Nurtured Heart Approach facilitator, a seminar and workshop facilitator. So over the last 20 plus years, my husband and I combined, myself on my own, Nathan and I, we have conducted hundreds and hundreds of seminars and workshops to many thousands of people over the years, right? We've traveled the country from, doing 10 seminars in a row back in the days, and with audiences as small as 20 or 30 right up to 400 or 500. Now, I've also been a parenting specialist on weekly radio. So I actually had a regular spot on Brisbane radio a couple of years ago, where I had a 5-minute spot every week, and it was, Ask Lillian, the parenting strategist, and I answered questions for people. And I had 5 minutes on radio every week, which is a lot of time on radio, right? I've been on television, featured on television. We've been on Today Tonight twice, sharing our family's journey and story. We've been featured on several TV programs, in many, many magazines, newspapers, blogs, online, offline, all over the place. We have been around. So that's me. And Nathan, if you would be kind enough to unmute and share, that would be great.
And for myself, I guess the story of my own upbringing is what inspired me to become a naturopath, which we'll get into later. Essentially looking at how my parents went to the 4 hours, 5, 6 hours to find someone to help with my brother. That really inspired me, the change it made to become that same sort of practitioner who could have such a significant change in people's lives. So I went all out, did 3 degrees in 5.5 years, and got very lucky. I guess, well, not luckily, I attracted the right clinic to work with. So now I work in the past 10, 11 years with a team of holistic doctors, previously chiropractors, psychologists, kinesiologists, other naturopaths. And so I love working in this big field of different modalities, all collaborating together to give like an amazing holistic treatment approach. And really, when someone sat in front of me with particular health challenges, I can always see how as a child, their life has been influenced by the programming they've received, their self-belief, the job they took, the relationship they have, as to how that's directly linked with their health condition. So knowing that what the good we can do in parenting and to create a complete different path of life that they may have taken, that's why I do what I do.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan. That's fantastic. So this masterclass is designed for you and how we can assist you, but I just want to get your permission to ask if it's okay to share our story first. Now, I know some people have heard this. I'm going to tell it a little bit differently tonight, but our story is our story, and I am going to warn you that I could get very emotional, right? Because this is real for us, right? This is something that we've actually lived through. It's not just a degree that I've gone and got to learn how to teach parenting. We have lived this. And the only reason that I'm actually here today sharing this with you, and probably the only reason that Nathan is actually here as a naturopath, is because of our journey and our story. So our second son was born 7.5 years after his big brother, Nathan. And we had one child, Nathan, who was very quiet, very passive. So we kind of had a pretty easy parenting journey for the first 7.5 years. We became a blended family. So I met Andrew when Nathan was a year old, and we got married when Nathan was just 5 years old. So we became a blended family then. But my youngest son was born when Nathan was 7.5 years old. And it was a very, very stressful birth, right? We had to have a stress monitor on, and it was a fast birth. Like, he was keen to get out and get moving in the world, and boy, did he come out with a bang, a very big bang, right? So can I just confirm, Nathan, that you can see my screen okay there?
Yes, that's good.
Awesome. So this beautiful photo here that's Nathan, the bigger boy, of course, and his little brother, cuddling his little brother who was just born. So when our youngest son was born, I cannot express to you how stressful it was. And they talk about, mums having postnatal depression, etc. And I can really relate to that. So if anybody has ever felt like that, he was irritable from the get-go. The moment he came into this amazing world, he was irritable, he was screaming, he was very unsettled, he didn't sleep. Literally, if he wasn't breastfeeding or sleeping, he was screaming. There wasn't a lot of quiet time, right? So we had a very, very unhappy baby. We had a very unhappy and stressed brother, and we definitely had very stressed parents. Like, we just did not know what hit us when this beautiful young man came into our lives. But we do know that he came here to teach us some amazing lessons, right? And his first year of being in our world, we went through quite a roller coaster of emotions. I know that many a day was spent crying, stressed, it was tough, right? And not only was I dealing with a very unhappy baby, but I was dealing with a very unhappy big brother, because Nathan had been an only child. He was quiet, he was easygoing, and all of a sudden, and he had our attention, it was positive. All of a sudden, his younger brother came along and his world was turned upside down. So please do remember, if you have a challenging child, remember that the other children are really important to consider as well. Now, he was a cheeky toddler. He was gorgeous and adorable, but he was full on, absolutely full on. And we really just did not know how to cope. Like being a school teacher, being a parent, I thought I kind of knew, you know, how I would cope and handle this little boy. But you know what? Has anybody ever been given a big manual when their child was born? And particularly, this is a manual for challenging children. We don't get one, right? We tend to model our parenting on our parents and how we were brought up. That's what most of us do. Sometimes people will go and learn about parenting, but mostly we model from our parents because that's all we've ever known, right? So our son was actually first diagnosed as young as 3.5 years old, firstly with childhood depression, where they actually recommended him antidepressants. So who has ever heard of a child as young as 3.5 years old being diagnosed and recommended antidepressants? I was shocked. And it wasn't just by one person, it was by 3 people in a very short period of time that recommended antidepressants. He was also diagnosed with ADHD, which is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and ODD. And all that anybody could recommend to us at that stage was medication. I'm like, seriously? Surely this cannot be the answer, right? It was not our answer, and it was not the way that we wanted to go. But we didn't know what else to do, right? We didn't know where else to turn. And keep in mind that 25 years ago, when he was just young, there wasn't a lot of holistic information around like there is today. So we lived in a country town called Shepparton in Victoria, Northern Victoria. And at that stage, there were 5 childcare centres, right? And guess what? He went to every single childcare centre because basically none of them could cope. So we were kindly asked to move on. He didn't quite get expelled from daycare, but we were asked to move on, or we felt pressured to move on because of the feedback that we were getting. So in the second last centre we went to, I won't read this, but if you can read as I'm talking, feel free to. They used to keep a communication book, and it was very detailed. And every day when I went to pick him up, I felt like the most hopeless, inadequate, useless mother in the world, because I remember walking in, you know, to the childcare centre to pick him up, and I almost just wanted to put, you know, a big hat and dark glasses on and a fake mustache or something like that. I just didn't want anybody to see me, and I'm normally really friendly and out there and how are you and love having conversations, because people used to talk about us. That's the mother with that child, you know, and that's that child that does all this stuff. And he was, and I can understand how the parents, you know, felt, because he was aggressive. He would hit and punch and throw and hurt kids. And I can understand why parents were upset. And I can understand why the carers were at their wits' end, but we didn't know what to do. And we just wanted to understand why our little boy was the way he was. Andrew and I weren't aggressive. He didn't get it from us. Where did it come from, right? We were absolutely beside ourselves. We could see that he wasn't happy. We weren't happy. Nobody was happy, right? But we just didn't know what to do. We were crying out for help, right? And the only help that we were given was, you know, to medicate him. So he started school in a normal primary school. He looks happy enough there. He was very photogenic, very cute. But it was stressful, right? Our first day, our first year in his school was so stressful. He had a very strong teacher, a very teacher who liked to control. And we talk about the difference between gaining cooperation and control. And he spent more time in time out than he did learning. And do you think he was happy? No. Do you think his teacher was happy? No. Do you think we were happy? No, nobody was happy, right? There was no joy in this experience. Now, we were very, very fortunate to find out about a Steiner school on the outskirts of our town that we lived in. It was about a 40-minute drive. And he transferred to that school in grade 1, and it was a blessing. It was a true blessing for us. I don't mean that things were perfect, but they nurtured him, they loved him, they accepted him as he was. And when he felt that love, when he felt that unconditional love, he just responded really positively. He still had bad days. He still punched a kid on the school bus and got kicked off the bus. He broke his teacher's nose. There are still some stories to tell, but you know, they were such a beautiful community, and the teachers were so lovely. And when Caleb broke his teacher's nose, the teacher was more remorseful and worried about him than she was about her broken nose. And it was a beauty, by the way. So from the Steiner School, we then moved to Queensland, right? He went into another primary school for grade 6. That didn't go so well. We then moved him into a private school for year 7. So this was in Brisbane. It was a very elite, very expensive private school. And we thought maybe the control, the strong, you know, discipline might be the way to go. But we were so wrong, right? It was the opposite, total opposite of what he needed. It was the total opposite of how he operated. He did not operate with being controlled. He rebelled against that big time, but we just didn't see it. We didn't get it for so long, right? And he ended up with a school record at age 13 for the most number of red cards in the school. And you might have been thinking, well, if he had a school record, that's going to be something positive. No, it was not positive. He went from the yellow card system to the green, to the blue, to the red. And I think most kids in their school career never even got close to a red card. And he actually had the record for the most disciplinary cards in the school. So at the end of first term in year 8, we were asked into the principal's office, an elderly lady, I can still remember her, the principal, and she basically said, we do not tolerate, I can still hear her voice, we do not tolerate children like this in our school. We do not tolerate them. So we are going to give you 2 choices. You can voluntarily remove him from our school, or he will be expelled. So you can imagine what we did. And then we thought, well, what now? So he was still at this stage only 13. So we then enrolled him in the local high school. And of course, that went from bad to worse, right? And this was the most stressful time from about age 13 through to about 15 and a half, was probably the most stressful time in our parenting journey. Even though 3 to 5 was very stressful, 13 to 15 was extremely stressful, right? And he revolted big time. And you can just see the look of defiance there on his beautiful face. And if you look at the word revolt, right, and you look at it backwards in the red there, in the middle of the word revolt is the word love. So what kids that revolt are looking for, and it's not that we didn't love him, we loved him with all of our heart, but we didn't know how to love him the way he needed to be loved. We didn't know or understand what he needed, right? It was all about what we needed and how it was affecting us, but we never really thought about him. It was all about, you know, him being not cooperating, him being in trouble, but we never really thought about him as a person and what his needs were. So the revolt was pretty nasty, I've got to tell you. It was really tough, and I'll share some stories in a little bit about that. But we really, really needed help, right? We really needed help big time. It was the most stressful 2 years of my life, 2.5 years of my life. As I said, he attended 2 secondary schools. He was suspended for more days than he attended in high school. Firstly, for doing, you know, some stuff that he wasn't meant to be doing. But secondly, he was suspended for wagging or non-attendance of school, which was just crazy. So he'd wag school and then he'd get attended for wagging school, right, or non-attendance. He had a terrible, terrible reputation with the teachers. We got many, many calls from the school. When that number came in from the school, we knew where things were going. He was labelled as a troublemaker. He was mixing in the wrong crowds. He was getting into inappropriate behaviours and in trouble with the police. And you can use your imagination there. And then the universe stepped in and we connected with our angel Frank. So you'll need to read my Revolting Child, A Blessing in Disguise book to understand what happened there. But we connected with a parenting coach, right? Just like you're connecting with me tonight, we connected with a parenting coach who we mentored with for 18 months, right? So when people, you know, I talk about people investing in their parenting, we invested for 18 months in this parenting coach because we needed the answers. We needed to get our son back, right? We wanted that relationship. We wanted that bonding that we just didn't have. It was stressful. It was hard on all of us. All of our relationships were tested to the max, right? My husband and I, my son and I, my two sons together, every interaction, every relationship was challenged. So after the revolt, the healing began, and I'll run through this quickly. I won't read through this now. I've got something to read at the end, but he wrote me this most beautiful, beautiful letter, and you might be able to just quickly read a couple of bits there. He wrote me this most beautiful letter just a few months after we started this healing journey with him. He began mending his relationship with his brother Nathan, which was awesome. And that was great to see because they did not get on at all. They were at loggerheads. He got into business with his dad after going out and finding an apprenticeship in plumbing and doing a plumbing apprenticeship. Then he decided to partner with his dad in an electrical contracting business. And they're still working together now 8 years later, very harmoniously, and they have a very loyal customer base. And that's my beautiful family. That's a trip that we did in 2019. We love to travel together. We love to hang out together. We love to do things together because we love each other, right? And we have amazing relationships with each other. And if you had asked me 10 years ago if it would be like this, I don't know if I could have quite pictured it like this, to be honest, because things were not looking good 10 years ago. I can guarantee you that. Or 12 years ago, probably. So let's have a look at some of the secrets. So we covered these in the last 3-day breakthrough. So I'm just going to go through them very quickly, particularly for the people who might be listening into this for the first time. So when people ask me, Lillian, what is your number one secret for parenting? It's really focusing on the outcome you want, because particularly in parenting in general, but particularly when we have a challenging situation, we tend to focus our attention on the things about our children that annoy us most. Pop in the chat box if you can relate to that, right? We focus on things like the messy bedroom, the kids not listening, the kids being disrespectful, fighting with their siblings or with us, arguing. And then what we do is we move our focus and attention by focusing on those things to the things we do not want, right? So we get more of the same behaviors because this is where our attention is placed. This is called the law of attraction, and I think most people know about this, but it works just as well with parenting. The kids are frustrated, and so are we. Now, we tend to use a lot of words like no, not, and don't, and we use them often because without really thinking about what we're focusing on, we're asking for what we do not want instead of what we do want. And we're just programmed, right, to use these words so often. So I'm going to talk to you today about your language and how important your language is, and particularly the words you use directly to and in and around your children, because we want to use language that is focusing on what we want. So rather than saying no, not, or don't, what we need to do is redirect our children by telling them what we want them to do. It's as simple as that. Do you know what, parents? We are mainly telling kids what we don't want instead of what we do want. And even if you don't have a really challenging child, I want you to really focus on your language. So you can use phrases like, I need you to, I want you to, or simply just direct them to what it is you want them to do instead of telling them what you don't want them to do, right? Which is what we tend to do. So let's have a look at a few examples. Don't make a mess. Who's ever said that before, right? But what we need to be saying is, I want you to keep clean and tidy. Do not hit your sister. Please be kind to your sister. Don't speak to me rudely. I want you to speak to me respectfully and kindly. You need to tell them what you want. Do not be late home. I need you to be home on time. Don't talk with your mouth full. I've heard that one a few times. Wait until your food is eaten before you speak, please. No computer for you until your homework is done. When you finish your computer, then you can when you finish your homework, then you can use your computer. No dessert if you don't eat your dinner, right? When you eat your dinner, then you can have dessert. Can you see how simple and how different this language is? It's just a slight tweaking of the words. So when we are saying the don'ts and the nots and the no's, are we asking for what we want, or are we focusing on what we don't want? So what we need to do is just ask for what we want in the first place, right? It sounds simple, but we just don't do it. So I'm going to teach you the switch it game very soon. So the exception to the no rule is, and I have to always talk about the exception, because if you avoid using the word no, a lot of the time, then when you really, really need it, right, it's going to be a lot more impacting. For example, if a child runs out onto a busy road and you call out, no, stop, they're really going to listen a lot better than if you say no all day long. Because if you say all day long, they're just going to go, oh, mum or dad's just saying no again. So you need to keep it for when you really need to use it for effect, right? Okay, so the word don't. Now, using the word don't puts, once again, our attention on the opposite of what we want. When broken down, the word don't means not doing. So, for example, don't forget, and that's a double whammy because forget's another switch it word. Don't forget to pick up your toys. This puts the focus on not doing what you are asking them to do, right? When you say don't run, what do they hear? They hear run. You want them to slow down or walk, but they hear run because that's what you're saying. When you say don't argue, they hear argue. You want them to use kind words, but they focus on argue. When you say don't drop that or spill that, they hear drop or spill. And what happens? They often drop or spill it, right? When you've said don't do it. So remember the keys to continue to focus on what you do want. Now, I want everybody to clear their mind for a moment. I'm just checking in with some of the chats. Yes, Tara, I would seriously consider Steiner if you've got one within driving distance. Absolutely. Absolutely. So clear your mind. Now, don't think of a pink elephant. What do you think of? Probably a pink elephant, right? There she is. Okay. So let's have a look at secret number 2, the switch it game. Now, the switch it game is basically about us just switching the way we speak, our thoughts and our actions as well, right? And what I would suggest you do is gather the family together and explain the game. Go through some of the examples that we just shared with you. And maybe if they're young children, just start with one word. Start with don't, or start with not, or start with no. If they're a little bit older, maybe you can incorporate a few and just let them know that when they hear that word in a sentence, that they have to actually tell the person to switch it. So it's getting them to help other people remember their words. And the kids are really going to love this. You know what? The kids actually are better at this than us, and they will pick you up, right? And the tip is, kids, if you're listening to this, if you hear mum and dad say no, what you need to do is say to them, switch it, and then say, mum, dad, what is it you really want when you say no? And then you have to just let them know, right? Because you're going to be using that word so much, and it's going to take a lot of, I do a little click of the fingers, you know, switch it, switch it, switch it. Some people use a rubber band around their wrist. So what is it that you really want is the question you have to ask before you utter anything to your children, or really anything in general, right? Whenever we're speaking anything into existence, we want to ask ourselves, what is it we really want? Do we want great health, or do we want terrible health? Do we want great relationships or terrible relationships? You know, do we want to be living in an amazing, positive world or not? You know, we have to continue focusing on what we want. And you're going to self-correct, right? Like, even after so many years, I am still self-correcting. I am still self-correcting myself when I say a negative thought or a negative word or one of the switch it words. And I know I picked up somebody today who said, I can't wait to get on your call tonight. And I said, what is it you really want? Are you looking forward to it? Yes, that's right. So let's have a look at a few examples. I will not forget. How many times do you say to people, don't forget something? Don't forget to pick up the bread on the way home, to your partner, and they get home and they don't have the bread. Where's the bread? Oh, I forgot it. Of course they forgot it, because you focused on telling them to forget it. You need to ask them, can you please remember, right? You're going to have a much better chance. Don't be late. I will be on time. Don't miss out. How many people say, don't miss out on something or other, when what they really want to say is be sure to get it, or be sure to join us, you know, not focusing on the missing out. I can't wait. This is another really common one. I can't wait is focusing on I cannot wait. It's focusing on the waiting. What we need to say is I'm so looking forward to. Say it in the positive tense instead of the negative tense, right? I will not yell at the kids. The positive way of saying that is I will speak to the kids calmly. Okay, so that is secret number 2. I know I'm running through this very quickly because we've got a lot to cover tonight. Secret number 3 is the when-then strategy. So Nathan, is there anything that I've missed in the comments just while I catch up with a quick sip of water?
No, you're doing well. Diane especially likes the pink elephant example.
Good, excellent. Now, the when-then strategy I touched on last time, and I'm actually going to go into a little bit more detail for you tonight, just because it was such a popular strategy. So the when-then strategy is to help get kids to listen and cooperate without the arguing and the power struggles. Who here agrees with me that arguing and power struggles are not fun? Who agrees with that? Pop in the chat box if you agree with that. So let's look at using the word when in the following examples instead of if, right? Now, just look at the real subtle differences. If you don't clean up your toys, then you can't go out to play. Is that positive or negative? You're actually putting a condition on them not cleaning up their toys. And it's almost like if you don't clean them up, then there's a punishment. You don't get to go out to play. But if you just slightly tweak it right, when you clean up your toys, then you can go out to play. Can you see the difference? Pop in the chat box if you can see the subtle difference there. If you don't eat your dinner, then you can't have any dessert. Who's ever heard that before? If you don't eat your dinner, you don't get any dessert, right? Listen to the subtle difference. When you've eaten your dinner, then you can have some of that dessert. And there's no arguing because you're not giving them the chance to argue with you. You're just saying this is how it is, right? Yeah, sure. When you've eaten your dinner, you can have some dessert. Walk away. There's no need to argue with them. Okay, it makes it very, very simple. And they get to understand when you do the when-then exactly how things are going to work. When-then simply delays or denies a normally occurring privilege until a less desirable task is completed. And we're the same as kids, right? We don't like completing the drab tasks, but you know, as adults, we know they have to be done. So often we'll get them done first, right? But with kids, we've actually got to teach them. So you can use this tool when you want your child to take action to do something they may not be that keen on doing, right? But they still have to get done because it's just something that has to be done. For example, if their job is to take out the rubbish. So when you've taken out the rubbish bin and you've finished your homework, then you can enjoy your 60 minutes of technology time. So rather than saying, if you don't do it, then you can't, you're actually giving them a positive consequence. And all they need to know is, all right, I've just got to take out the rubbish and finish my homework. Then I can have my 60 minutes. Make sense? So you are simply helping the children to be more cooperative by the order in which the activities get completed, by giving your kids the less desirable tasks first. So what makes this incredibly effective is that it actually diffuses the power struggle by giving your child positive power while you still accomplish your goal. So it's kind of a win-win situation, right? And it might take a little bit for the kids to catch on and for you to actually get used to using when-then. But by using when-then, you're not controlling your child, you're simply adjusting the order of events. So who likes the when-then strategy? And we can use that not only for kids, you know, we can use that for adults as well. So parents can benefit from when-then routines because they reduce the need to nag and to remind children about what to do next. So here's how it works. When it comes to routines, you structure the routine so the less desirable task must be completed before the more enjoyable part of the routine. So it's just a matter of putting it in the right order. For example, when you've brushed your teeth and taken a bath and set out your clothes for tomorrow, then we could read together before lights go out at 8. So they know exactly. So if they haven't brushed their teeth, taken a bath and set out their clothes before 8, they just know there's no reading. It's straight to bed, right? They understand what the routine is. When your kids complete the items in the routine, then they get to enjoy a normally occurring privilege like TV time, technology time, playtime. And remember, these are privileges that the kids, you know, sometimes take for granted, right? But if we put it in the when-then, you know, routine situation, they actually get the hang of it, and they won't try and you know, have that power struggle with you because you just set on how it actually works. Okay, so that's when-then. That's a favourite strategy of a lot of parents. Secret number 4. Show your children you are their biggest supporters, their #1 fans. So regardless of what our children say, do, or how they act, we have to show them that we love them unconditionally and we will not judge them for their actions. If our children actually know, we won't judge them. They're going to be a lot more likely to confide in us and tell us what's happening in their lives, as they won't fear, you know, being judged, criticised or yelled at. And regardless of who else is putting them down, we have to be their rocks. We have to be their constant, and we have to always be there to love and support them through any challenge. Now, I'm running a little bit behind, but I really do feel like I need to share this story because I know there are people on the call tonight who missed the original recording, and I'm going to abbreviate this as quickly as I can to illustrate being their biggest supporter and fan. So I remember clearly 13 plus years ago when I got yet another phone call from the school saying that there had been quite a major misdemeanor happened that day at school. He ran away from school. He possibly didn't realize that I'd got the phone call from the school. He came home, and what did I do? Do you think I was his biggest supporter and number one fan? Do you think I actually asked him for his side of things? Do you actually think I asked him what happened? Are you feeling okay? Tell me what happened. Tell me your side of the story. No, I didn't. The minute he walked in the door, it was like, how can you do this? Why did you do this? Blah, 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 blah. You're grounded. You're going to, I just poured it on him. I didn't even ask him at all. I can still remember just being so angry, and I didn't ask him how he was. I didn't even ask him for his his side of the story. He actually punched a teacher, but there was quite a backstory to it, right? And when I told him he was grounded and when I told him he was in trouble, he basically, and he's about 14 at this stage, he basically said, F you, Mum, I'm out of here. And what do? He's as big as I am. He's probably bigger. I couldn't make him stay. He took off, right? Long story short was he took off. My husband got home from work. We were trying to call him. I was feeling very remorseful and guilty. It got to 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. He wasn't answering his phone. We were getting very concerned. My husband drove around the neighbourhood, couldn't find him, finally decided to go to one of the chaps that he hung out with's house. The young friend was very concerned for him because he had seen him about an hour prior, and he said he was totally out of it. He was on, he didn't even know what he was on. He said he was just a mess, and he tried to stop him and he couldn't. Anyway, Andrew ended up finding him in a gutter, right? Literally in a gutter. He was so inebriated with whatever he'd taken that he didn't know his name. He didn't know who he was. He was a mess. And why do you think he was this mess? Why do you think he was feeling that way? It was because I wasn't his biggest supporter or fan. I didn't even ask him why what happened. He must have been feeling so bad about himself. And he must have thought, my mum doesn't even care. She didn't even ask me my side of things. Imagine how he was feeling, right? And for him to get into that state in just a few hours, goodness knows what he'd taken. And you know what? When he got home, it took 2 days for him to sober up. 2 days, right? And I can remember we'd already started coaching with Frank, our mentor, and we talked to him and he gave us some advice so that when he came out of this situation, we handled it differently than we would have handled it prior. And when he came out of it, we decided to be his biggest supporters and fans. We didn't yell at him. We didn't ask him why he did what he did. We didn't ask him what he'd taken. We were just there to support him. And as he came out of that, and as he realised that we were now being his supporters and his number one fan, that we were there for him and that we were trying to understand, the result was amazing. I've got to tell you, it was absolutely amazing. I could talk about this for a bit longer, but I'm just going to leave it at that for now. It's really, really important for us to show our kids that we are our number one fan, particularly when they do really challenging things like that, because what we normally want to do is yell, scream, ground them, threaten them, and it doesn't work. And it doesn't serve them and it doesn't serve us. So no matter what's going on in your lives, in the child's lives, you might be out of totally out of alignment with each other, no matter how much grief they're giving you, no matter how much trouble they are getting into, no matter how they treat you or speak to you, you still have to show them that you are their number one fan. It doesn't mean that you are okay with what they did, but you have to be their number one fan. So it's so important that we show them that we're always there for them, we always love them, and we support them unconditionally. Not when they're good, but unconditionally. And that we will always be there to help them no matter what. And I remember our mentor, Frank, telling us how gangs are formed because kids basically don't feel a part of their own family, right? They don't feel like that they're understood. They don't feel like they belong a part of the family. So they go out looking for it elsewhere, and gang members, you know, pick up on the vulnerability of these kids, and they can get them to, you know, to do all sorts of things just because they make them feel a part of something, even if it's negative, right? Even if they have them out there, you know, stealing and hurting people and stuff, but because they feel a part of something, they'll do anything, right? So that can work positively and it can work negatively. Okay, last one, secret number 5, the more we give our children, the more we get back. And the reason I wanted to tell this story, and I'm not actually going to read that because I really just want to tell you the story. So the law of reciprocity basically can be summed up by stating the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So when, from that last story, when we accepted him and let him know we're his biggest supporter and fans, things really started to change, and we started working with him, not against him. We started trying to understand him and being his supporter and fan, and being, you know, the supportive parents that we were. And over about a 10-month period, so from before that incident until I actually wrote my book, that the outcome was ridiculous. It was so, like, if you've got a child in your home now that is totally revolting, that is totally, you know, defiant or disrespectful, I tell you what, it doesn't take that long. So when I actually, I meant to have the book here, but you can probably see it up on the back shelf behind me there. When I actually did a book launch for my 3rd book, The Revolting Child, somebody in the audience, and I've got to be really quick because I really am over time. Somebody in the audience actually put their hand up and actually said, Caleb, we've just heard this story, right? We've heard this story that your mum and dad have told us about where you were 10, 12 months ago and where we see you today. And they said, can you please tell us, you know, what was it that took you from where you were to where we see you now, and to the story that we've heard your mum and dad tell you? And I've got to tell you, my ears pricked up big time because I wanted to know the answer to that too, right? And I held my breath because I was really keen to know the answer. And I could see him contemplating, you know, for a few seconds. And he said, when I saw the effort that my mum and dad went to be the best parents they could be, I wanted to be the best son I could be. So if you're on here tonight and you're wanting things to be different, and you trust us and work with us on this, you can have that outcome as well. When I saw the effort that my mum and dad were going to be the best parents they could be, I wanted to be the best son I could be. How amazing is that, right? And 10 years later, he brings me flowers, he writes me beautiful notes, he's encouraging, he's an amazing man. He really is. And I'm so grateful that we took the effort to do what we did. So that's it from me. I'm so sorry, Nathan, I've taken up, you know, some of your time, but I'm sure that you'll be able to run through this quickly. So over to you, Nathan. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And again, it's really amazing what difference it can be when it comes to a child's upbringing, where they end up in life. So some of the areas I want to very quickly touch on is, for yourself and your children, really what you're eating will at some point determine how you feel, and how you feel will determine what actions you take. And what actions you take will depend on what the rest of the day will be like, and what tomorrow will be like, and what decisions in the future you'll make. And so it all starts at the gut. And there's a really big connection that we're now identifying between the brain and the gut. And I want to run through some very basics as to what is it that we can do to prevent damaging it. So the first thing is really what are the foods that we're eating that we can stop eating that can then reduce the damage on our body. And a lot of these are hidden food intolerances and the obvious, the artificial colors, artificial flavors, preservatives, etc. So what do we do? Well, we've got this really amazing code breaker that you can use to decode the food. And so you're going to be able to download this from our Facebook group and make sure that whatever food you pick up from the shelf, you are able to not have any numbers or artificial flavors in there. And that's going to make a big difference. So what actually happens when we're eating these foods? Well, we're damaging the gut lining. And so interestingly, how long do you think it takes before we have stopped eating the bad food and our gut recovers? Like 1 hour, 2 hours, half an hour? What do you think? Surprisingly, it is 15 hours, which is massive. Now, if you're already eating something bad after the first thing you've eaten bad, then now you can see you're in a constant state of leaky gut. And as you can see in the photo, all these things are leaking through the membrane of your gut and ending up into your bloodstream. And your poor liver has to deal with it. And then your immune system starts to get confused and attack the foods that it doesn't like. And then it identifies our own cells as foreign and starts attacking those. And so all of a sudden you're going downhill. And it can be easily stopped by just looking at what is it that we're eating that is causing us problems. Now, a lot of those problems translocate to the bowels. And often it's not an area people really talk about much, but you can tell a lot about someone's gut health by their bowels. So just be more aware of your children. It's like, do they constantly talk about having a sore tummy? Are they struggling to go to the toilet properly? We have this enteric nervous system that runs all the way down south, and it can be triggered by emotional shifts. So let's say you already have some sort of pre-existing condition, whether it be, constipation or irritable bowel disease, bloating, you've just eaten something and you feel your stomach bloat or you get cramping. Now this whole network of nerves is inflamed. And it's a lot easier than for that to then trigger your central nervous system and initiate a stress response, bring on anxiety, make you feel down and depressed. And then our response to that is stress eating. And now all of a sudden we're craving the sugars, the bad foods. Children go up and they end up, sneaking bad foods. They're buying things full of colors and flavors. And then you just get in this vicious cycle. So let's really make sure our environment at home is as clean as possible. Let's look at, are there food intolerances? Are there colors in the children's food that they're eating on a daily basis? Are they having enough water and fiber to move their bowels frequently? Because, most of the population, 30-40%, have bowel issues and gut issues. And really it's the first place that we should be looking. So recently there's something called microbiome that more and more people are understanding how it impacts our health. But essentially we are made up of bacteria, and the bacteria really determine our mood and who we are. And again, we have more bacteria, I forget, it's like in the trillions. When that bacteria is happy, we are happy. 2 strains, and this is just one study, were found that if they were missing or low, it can cause anxiety and depression. And that's just 2 strains. All of children's behavior and their ability to learn and concentrate, if they get anxiety or stress, can be linked to this. And so it's not just how many bad strains that we have, it's how many good strains we have and the diversity. So the more diverse we can make our diet, the better. And that's why it's really important to have all these fermentable foods. But that can be tricky, right? Because sometimes you're eating like whether it's sauerkraut, miso, kombucha, prebiotics like the fructooligosaccharides, certain fibers, and they make you feel worse. So this means that we have a small intestinal bacteria overgrowth problem. And so now you know that the fermentable foods and the prebiotics are causing a problem. Don't just ignore that. Let's do something about that there's some other kind of pathogen in the body that's affecting the way you can break down food, and it's ending up in the small intestine where it should not end up, and causing the bacteria to grow there. So the bacteria have moved from the large intestine to the small intestine. And so when we start to look at all these different areas of our health, what our children are eating, what are their symptoms like, what are they complaining of, we can have a huge change in their mental and cognition. You're expecting them to, sit at school and learn all day, and they're coming home and you're getting phone calls from the teacher saying, they're not concentrating, they're not learning, they're not getting it. And now the teacher automatically assumes your children just aren't good at school. And that relationship between the child and the teacher becomes fractured. And now it's almost like, well, if I'm expected to be stupid and dumb and I can't learn, and that gets reinforced often enough, then that's just who I'm going to become. And so, unfortunately, from a very early age, that just becomes their mindset. And last time, it was actually a psychologist that was telling me there was a mix-up in the UK grading system where all the students' results somehow got mixed up, and the top end of the class that got really good results ended up with the results of the lower end of the class. So they got flipped around. But what they noticed is all of a sudden that the teachers, the first time that these children did the test, the teachers really focused on the lower half of the class, thinking they got the better results. And the next time they did the tests again, it reversed. The children who initially got bad results, all of a sudden their results improved. It is like the energetic subtleties of who you are to the teacher completely change, and who you are to those around you. And that's why our language is so important, and what we say, even jokingly, can make a huge difference. And it all comes from little bacteria in the gut. It's amazing. Now, when it comes to nutrition, here's some of the areas that we need to be more aware of. Now, to shorten this, what I've done is, rather than individualize each screen with a particular nutrient, I have collated them. So when it comes to mental health, here's many of the different symptoms. And as you can see, zinc and B6 and magnesium cover majority of those. And so if you're missing those three, all of a sudden, all of these symptoms, from neurotransmitters, your feel-good happy hormone, melatonin to help you sleep, methylation, how your brain is programmed to deal with stress, pyrrole, if your body is basically creating too many neurotoxins and you're losing a lot of these B6 and zinc and manganese, and all of a sudden you're more prone to anxiety and depression, or labeled with ADHD or any other mental health condition. All of these social behavior and learning behavior are all linked to a lot of these deficiencies. So now we can be like, okay, what are some of the foods that we need to reintroduce into the diet once we've established if the immune system is okay with it, and that we can correct a lot of the issues. The vitamin D and the fish oil, EPA, DHA, also cover a few of them. Now, when it comes to healing, whether it be healing the gut or healing the skin, controlling inflammation, helping the immune system, you can see zinc is also another big player here. B6 to a smaller extent, magnesium helps a bit. Vitamin D also important, as you can see, when it comes to regulating the body. So relaxing the muscles, helping with sleep. If you've got any tics or twitches, it's like a communication problem with the brain to the rest of the body. Greatly helped with things like B6 and magnesium. And even the growth and our gene response. Vitamin D has influence over majority of our gene functions. So those automatic functions that just happen in the body automatically without us having to put any conscious thought require vitamin D. Trick question, where does vitamin D come from? Most of the time, people think it comes from the sun, which is half true. You need the good essential fatty acids already in the skin, under the dermis, for the sun to then send the infrared rays and convert that fat and help the body produce vitamin D from it. So you need both to be out in the sun and already to have the good essential fats in the body. Now, environment and the toxins. Food is just one toxin, or it can be healing. The other toxins I'm talking about is a lot of pesticides, herbicides. Now, these are found everywhere. they are sprayed on food, they make their way into water. A lot of the things that we're exposed to are affecting our children. Now, I won't read the studies out, but you can see some of the stats there, very significant. And so one of the things that we did is start to wash our produce in a specialized water that strips the oil off them, and therefore anything sprayed in oil so it sticks on the fruits and vegetables as they're growing so it doesn't get washed off by rain. Now we're able to remove that. I do also a lot of heavy metal testing for children, and many heavy metals come up. Unfortunately, as you're going through pregnancy, we toxify the children. So again, how else can we make our house cleaner? Well, let's have a look at our bathroom, our kitchen, our laundry. These are the areas you can get this PDF on the Facebook group, and you can do a home audit. So you're looking at anything written in red is some of the nastier chemicals. The ones in black are still chemicals that we ideally should be avoiding as well. But there's two columns, the amount. So in here, we're looking at how many actual products do we have that contain one or more of these red ingredients. And then you can total up of however many products you have, how many actual chemicals contain within those products. And you might be surprised on a daily basis how many toxins are going in that you could completely avoid. Another toxin is in the form of EMF, electromagnetic frequencies. And these are all around us. There's a lot of schools in Europe that have switched to the wired internet because they noticed the wireless was interfering with children's learning and behavior. And we are surrounded by it. So again, a good idea is mobile phones on airplane mode at nighttime. If you can, put your Wi-Fi router on a timer so that at 10 p.m. at night it turns off, at 7 a.m. it turns back on. This way you're at least getting your sleep, which is repairing, detoxifying us and storing memories, to be not interrupted by the EMF. And Sue, to answer your question, I wash veggies under the tap. Well, it really depends, but it's probably around 10% that it might remove. Because the fruit and veggies are usually sprayed with something oil-based so the rain doesn't wash off the pesticide or herbicide. When you rinse it underwater, unfortunately, all you're really doing is adding chlorine and other chemicals that you're about to see into your fruit and veggies. So water, water is not water. The add oils aren't oils. Water ain't water. So the tap water that we have, which is probably a lot better than most of the world has access to, unfortunately is still pumped full of chemicals. And it's up to us to make sure that from our tap, we then make it clean. So these are the chemicals that are then found in newborns' umbilical cords, going all the way from the mother to the baby. Up to 80% of chemicals found in the mother have found their way into our children. And so your first step is filtering the water. And that can be, just under sink filter or over the counter filter. One might be dedicated to removing majority of the chemicals, and then one is dedicated to fluoride. So once you've made that one step, you've now got clean water without any of the chemicals, thyroid. The next step, we made an investment to make sure we can make that water that's filtered then therapeutic. And so the water that we drink is not only clean, but it's something called molecular hydrogen. It reduces inflammation by up to 43%, helps our body heal, increased up to another 39%. We're washing all of our veggies in it. We are replacing all of our cleaning chemicals. All those things that you saw on the house audit, we've virtually been able to replace the cleaning side with water. We converted our water to something called hypochlorous acid, the same substance our body makes to kill bacteria. In 5 to 10 seconds, you can now make from water. So again, the better the house, the better the body. Our house is actually one of the most toxic places. So now think our brain is sending electrical signals. It's sort of like if we were having a a conversation in a loud nightclub, it would be very hard for us to hear, and things would be missed. We'd get the wrong message. So our body is operating on this electrical signal. If the fluid of the body is so toxic and inflamed, it's very hard for those signals to work. This then starts to interfere with our brain chemistry. I'm just going to answer a question, Tara. We have lost our video for a minute. Okay, so you want to put any electrical devices, especially because they interfere with this communication our body has. Our body is communicating from cell to cell with an electrical signal. If you've got your mobile phone sat next to you while you're sleeping, even though you're not talking on it, it's pinging the cell phone tower and it's bathing your body in radiation. If you could see it, it would look like a smog cloud. So putting that on airplane mode stops that from happening. You would still want to charge that, a meter and a half away from you. And same with a Wi-Fi router. It doesn't have to be in your room. If you can get signal in your bedroom, it's bathing you in radiation, interfering with how your cells communicate, causing inflammation. And so when the brain becomes disrupted, our neurotransmitters become disrupted, we're more prone to outbursts, irritation, anger. Now, the effect that that has on children is profound. In the first 8 years of their life, they're like a programmable computer. Everything that's said and done around them, especially in repetition and from someone in authority, will shape their belief system. The belief system then will create all these programs, their self-love, their self-worth, their self-esteem, what they believe that they can do. And so then as they get older and they go through life and they have their traumas, their brain is then going back to their programming thinking, can we overcome this? Can we get through this? If the program is good and they've got the support, they can. If not, then think of this little anchor point, and all of a sudden there's a connection to a trauma that has an associated emotion with it. It might be fear, anger, resentment, whatever it might be, abandonment. That then becomes an anchor point for whatever experience or trauma they had. The next time they have that, it gets solidified and it gets stronger and stronger. So if you ever see even teenagers or adults have very irrational behavior because of something that popped up, you're just like, wow, why are you overreacting so badly? Just that little thing happened. It's not just that one little thing. Their subconscious is going back to all the times previously that happened or something similar, and based on the programming, it doesn't know what to do with it. So the brain just freaks out and it goes back to the mindset of however old they were when it first happened. And so now they're acting like children, even as adult, because the subconscious does not know time. It's not linear. And so these emotional traumas then shape who we are as people, how quick we are to react to things. And so that's why it's so important to know what we say to our children, even jokingly, because it can create such traumas. I have patients sat in front of me and I can say, okay, 30% of your problem is biochemical and functional, meaning physical stuff we can deal with. The rest of it has come from programming. That's happened in your childhood, your teenage years, whatever else. That's all something that we need to do something about. And so here's some resources for you. Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bradley Nelson, The Biology of Belief. These are some of the things that can teach you more about that. At the clinic, we actually go through and start testing the belief system and then reprogramming it and removing some of these emotional traumas. So that was just like a super fast crash course in some of the some of the areas of what we need to deal with when it comes to the basics. And dealing with these basics, we're going to get a huge jump and head start just by implementing some of these things. So I hope you got value from that. And again, I go far more in depth into that, but I just wanted you to have an elevated awareness of some of the areas that you could start looking at and changing right now. So there's actually a poem. You might want to screenshot that. I'll quickly share the screen. So this poem here, I'll let you read, but just think anytime your child has some sort of problem, what is it that they're really thinking of internally? Their external response is only a reflection of their internal. And if the worse the external response, the worse the internal. So that's a nice poem just to really get a insight into what's really happening inside them. And back over to you, Lillian.
Absolutely, Nathan. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Have you stopped screen sharing there? Awesome. Thank you. Well, I always listen to Nathan and I continue to learn from him. And, you know, we've got so much to learn from Nathan. That's why I'm excited about our 12+ week course that we're doing, because each week Nathan is going to take you through step by step by step, as though you were visiting him in the clinic for 12 weeks in a row. So super excited for people to be able to benefit from all of Nathan's expertise. So I just want, and please, apologies, it's my fault that we're running a little bit behind. So please let me know if you're okay for us to go just a little bit over tonight, because we want to get to the end and be able to also give you that love bomb at the end. So please continue to listen in. You'll get lots more value. So I just wanted to read a quick testimony. And I got this a few weeks ago from a lady that I actually coached with many years ago when her son was a teenager and he's now a young adult. And she just responded to a post that I put on Facebook, and it was so heartwarming and heart-wrenching as well, like just very emotional. But her name's Roseanne, and she actually, it was just a short comment. She said, "I just want to take this moment to personally vouch for you, Lillian. Your heartfelt guidance and mentoring at a very critical and emotional time in our family life and the life of my teenager was, I believe, one of the key reasons we did not lose him to suicide. I cannot express my love and gratitude enough for that." And when I hear things like that from people, it really just makes me feel like that's one person's life I may have helped save. And that is very impacting, you know, and you just don't know sometimes that, what is that called, the snowballing effect, the ripple effect of that. So, you know, people often talk about wanting great relationships. And I called some parents out the other day, because, you know, some parents talk about it, but they don't actually do anything about it. So once again, a huge congratulations for people who are on tonight and committed to their parenting, right, and their relationships, because wanting it and doing something about it are two different things, right? So, you know, people don't necessarily take the aligned action to back up that comment. And that's mostly, I guess, from a place of just not knowing what they need or how to achieve it. So when our child was a challenge, as you heard from our story, I wouldn't say that it wasn't a priority to us, but we just didn't know how to do the things that we had to do to get the result that we wanted to get. Does that make sense? So that's why Nathan and I are really so passionate about doing what we're doing, because we want to inspire families, we want to impact families, we want to educate you on exactly why we got the results and how we got the results we did, and why it's really important for us to work together. Because let's face it, as parents, it doesn't matter if our child, I saw parents with kids as young as 2 or 3 years old, 7 years old, you know, teenagers, 14, 16, 17 years old. We are our kids' favorite toys. Did you know that? It doesn't matter if they're 2, 12, or even 22. We're their favorite toys. So they don't often need or want more toys and stuff. They just want us, right? They want greater connection. They want relationship. They want experiences with us. That's what kids really want. They need and want the most amazing relationships with us. And they want us to understand them. They want us to be their biggest supporters and fans. And I'll show you evidence of that at the very end that will prove that that's an actual fact, right? That is actually what happened for us. So Nathan, back over to you.
We actually did a lot of interviewing with parents before we did this course, just to really get a glimpse of what is it that they need. And out of those interviews, the two of the biggest things that they said were important for their children turned out to be health and happiness and amazing and ongoing relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So they just want, especially the second one, they want their children to have relationships with their siblings and with them. They want them to believe in themselves and be able to do anything they desire. They want to be able to choose what they want and believe that they can do it. Now, the relationships, you really, as a parent, you've got time where your children is always asking for your attention. Now, there will be a point where they stop. And that point, who knows how old that will be. But ultimately, what the parents said, that we want our children never to stop. We want them, when they have kids of their own, to come around to our place. Not because it's a chore, but because they enjoy the relationship they have with us. We want them to stay connected. So many patients I have, the siblings are separated. They basically never talk to each other. Mum, dad don't even speak to their children anymore. It's such a shame. It's like, I've never spoken to my son in the last, 2-3 years. And it's like, wow, at some point, what happened for that to occur? The other thing that they were really bringing up was, they didn't know it, but from what they were telling us, I could tell it was due to love languaging. And this is sort of what whether it be the grandparent or if there was co-parenting happening or the parents had separated, a lot of the time the wrong relationship with the child was occurring. Instead of giving them love and attention, it was more gifts and spending things on them. And again, I have a lot of patients say, oh, I can't afford to take supplements because they are expensive. I can't afford to do this test. And it's a shame because in the interviewing, a lot came up that, people were spending money on complete junk that they didn't need. There's piles of toys that they're in your house that your kids don't care about. They care about you. And so 2 examples that were given by one person actually, she had split up with her partner and he would come and pick the kids up. And on the way home, generally they would stop at a service station and get some soft drinks. And for lunch or dinner, they would go out and have takeaway. And that's like $30, $40 right there. And then her new partner tried to buy her children with, rather than just giving them attention and support, with gifts. Each week he would buy them a new toy of some sort. And again, like, what are we spending money on that we're not really congruent with? And a lot of the time, the children just want us. And that money can go towards, a holiday we're spending time with each other, or something, spend it on personal development, something that's going to enrich your lives, not be just something materialistic. And so again, pop in a chat if you can think of at least one thing that you purchased that you didn't really need, that your children didn't want. And instead, would you rather spend the time it took to earn that money with your children instead?
So let me ask, who here would love us to literally hold you by the hand, give you a big hug, right? And have you work with us for the next 12 plus weeks? Because let me say this, if you are sick and tired of yelling, nagging and threats, if you crave a more respectful relationship with your children, if you really want to gain cooperation rather than control, if you want your children to be both happy and healthy today and growing into their adult years, and those of you who have younger children, you've got more of an opportunity to do this, right? If you want to really enjoy your day-to-day interactions with your children, if you want your kids to listen and just follow simple instructions, that's what some people just say, that's all I want, right? But if you want to know that when your kids have kids, that you will still be super connected, and to me, that's the most important thing to me, then you'll want what we have on offer, which we call the 3 C's. So Nathan, can you run through the 3 C's for us, please?
Sure. I guess the first C is content and course, and they're out there everywhere. Unfortunately, around 3% of people only ever finish a course. Like, I have so many things on my to-do list that I want to learn for health, where I purchased a course and it's just sat there. It's been like at least a year. They have all these amazing courses, but it's just life comes up and I end up doing other stuff, and they're still just sat there. And so our second C is to try and overcome that and have a lot of coaching and conversations. So it takes roughly 66 days to form a new habit. And so we thought, well, let's just not make sure we're hitting the minimum. Let's do 12 weeks, which is what, 80 plus days, to make sure that along the way, we're reinforcing the habits. Interestingly, I did this exercise last time. If you hold your hands up and you do that, take notice as to which thumb is on top. For me, it's left. Now try and do the same thing, but opposite, and swap between the two. Unless you've practiced like I have, it can be very difficult and you sort of like hit it. Every time you make a new habit, your body literally creates a new neuron and dendrite. And the second time you do that, you reinforce the behavior and it becomes stronger. But it needs to be reinforced. And that's why we've got the coaching to make sure that we are reinforcing, making those new neurons, making it second nature for all this language to pour out of you. So all the, like after the 12 weeks, you can literally duplicate what we're doing. Like you become the expert and your awareness is raised up. And our third C, the community and connection, is making sure we're all supporting each other. Like my goal is to create this complete different level of consciousness that is totally needed in this world today, that we are raising our children in a far more conscious state beyond just what social media is driving children to think about themselves. We need to go on a complete different path. And so that's my goal, is to create this amazing community and keep building and building and supporting it. So hopefully that excites you as to, you know, what our goal is. When it comes to are people willing to put in the effort, it's interesting. Like at clinic, I have two types of patients. One patient will be the one that comes in and is all excited. We go over their case and we make an amazing plan. And they invest the time to come and see me and the money. They invest in the supplements. And then they go home and we have something called a narrator or an ego or the inner voice. And depending on our programming, that is either very supportive or it just brings up all these objections. And all of a sudden it's like, I'll start tomorrow. I'll start on the weekend. Oh, I've got my birthday coming up. I'll start next week. And before you know it, our subconscious has convinced our conscious mind that it's all too hard. And that patient ends up coming back in 6 months, a year's time, after the pain he's got even worse. And I go back and they've got all the same symptoms. I'm just like, imagine if you just got started and listened to your intuition and just said, okay, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to trust in the process and just start taking my health seriously. Thankfully, the second type of patient is like that. They make the changes. It's a journey along the way. I mean, there's ups and downs. It's like, who knows how many years we're trying to, you know, undo. But the fact is they're implementing it. They're re-engaging and they're making change. And so that's why, you know, we want this program to be transformational, not just another program people buy and don't finish. And that's why we've done at least the 12 weeks to ensure that it's probably actually going to be more than that. I mean, I would love to have some of my colleagues jump on. Dr. Dan, a holistic GP, Nicole, an amazing kinesiologist. We've got a very supportive psychologist. And so we have this team that I'd love to bring in and do some like special guest days and give you a lot of value and content. So it may even end up being more than 12 weeks. But it is a pilot program. And so this, you know, may change in the future, how we do it, what it costs. It's just all depending on your feedback and how much you are enjoying it. I guess the 12 weeks will depend on each week, but ultimately you're either going to get, here's how it will look like, a module from either myself or Lillian or both. And that will be some sort of interactive video with some sort of support, resource or homework to do that is then going to be private Zoom or Facebook chat once a week. And so we want to make sure we have breakthroughs from the discussion in that group based on what you've watched previously. And so that way you're being supported the whole way. We can answer questions and make sure you're actually implementing, you know, what we're teaching. I'm designing this 12 weeks. So as Lillian said, it's like you've come to me over 12 sessions and I'm looking at every aspect of your health and helping guide you through it. So no matter what health condition you've got, you're addressing a lot of the fundamental underlying conditions. And there's going to be a whole bunch of resources. I mean, Mum has written 6 books, 2 of them internationally sold. And so depending on your situation, some are going to be very relevant to you and they're going to be there for you to use. The subconscious that I've spoken about often, we can play a subliminal CD that we've got that helps you get to sleep. It has a sleep biorhythm and it starts to reprogram your subconscious. It's like you're sat next to your child at night saying, you enjoy playing with others. You get along nicely. You love your brothers and sisters. You get along with people at school. You can do anything you put your mind to. There's like, I think 30 or so different affirmations going to the subconscious at night. They can't hear the words unless you turn it up really loud, but they're going in. And so we've got one of those for children, for adults, and for parents. And again, the content that I'll be providing will be on top of that as well. For those that want a little bit extra support, we are doing like a VIP program where you'll get more one-on-one. So if there's, if you want more of a consultation or more specific concerns with either Lillian or myself, we're going to include 5 calls. One will be like 90 minutes. So you have both of us to like a coaching call, and then 2 one-hour phone calls from each of us to really narrow down on exactly how to get you on track, whether it be for yourself, your children, or a combination. It'll all depend on what you want to use that for. And then to celebrate, we would love to be able to have you go on some sort of vacation or holiday, even if it's just to stay in Noosa or Gold Coast or somewhere in your state, or even out of state, if you're able to. That is going to bring your family together. So sort of like you sit down with the children and say, Mum and Dad are going to put so much more effort into making sure we have the most amazing relationships. Can we have your permission to do this? Once a week, we're going to get on this call for an hour and a half, 2 hours with a whole bunch of other people supporting us. And, we might spend an hour a week watching some of the videos and implementing it. But at the end of it, we'd love to be able to take you and have more time with you. And again, if you sit down with them and have that conversation and have like a goal at the end of the program, that's what we want. And so we've partnered with a company that enables us to give you, depending on where you go, it is valid for 2 years. So by then you can travel overseas, and some of those are worth up to $2,000. Within Australia, you can travel wherever you like. And all you're really paying is around $20 per night just for the taxes and city fees. And so we're very excited to be able to include that into the VIP program as well. And with the real cost of all this stuff, if you were to see me in the clinic as a consultation, or Mum as a parenting strategist, or buy the books as they've always been sold for, we wanted to give you so much value that we've like been able to do this at an 80%, most of the time discount. Might be 77 or 80% or more, because we really do not want price to be the objection. Because, the first thing that our mind jumps to is, I'm going to do nothing. I don't want to take any risks or any leap of faiths. I just want to stay safe. But unfortunately, like that number 1 patient, nothing changes. I want to make everyone number 2 patient. So you can implement, there's going to be no risk. This small investment of time that you're going to be spending each week, you're going to get so much more value from that as yourself and as a family, that if you don't like the content we're giving, within 30 days, you can download everything and watch everything and jump on the calls, then we'll happily refund the money. Like, I've never had a patient ask for that, because I go above and beyond. And hopefully the patients that do come and see me, they see that. Like, I'll often give them extra time and not charge them for it, because I just want the best for them. So we would rather under promise and over deliver, and make sure that this is attainable for everyone. So again, we want to remove that risk completely, and just listen to your intuition. Again, what's her name? Melanie Robbins, a neuroscientist. She's the one that says, just take a breath. And if your intuition tells you from what you've seen so far, 3, 2, 1, okay, just do it. Because again, if we let that narrator or that ego or that subconscious bring up all of our objections, like we do when we try and start a new diet or a new health routine, we just talk ourselves out of it. And so Actually, Lillian, can you talk about some of the love bombs to help with this narrator? And so we can, it's much easier to make a decision. I'm going to let you give them the lowdown on that.
Absolutely. I love giving love bombs. So we want to give you these love bombs, first of all, because we want to give you more value. And Nathan, perhaps you can get the link ready for them to be able to see the breakdown of all the programs. The love bombs are for the quick action takers who take action in the next 24 hours. You will get an additional 1 hour strategy session with both Nathan and myself, valued at $320. So whether you do VIP or the regular, you will get that additionally. You will also get a $300 accommodation voucher, which gives you discounts on some accommodation deals. And once again, if you've got the VIP, that's on top of the voucher for up to $2,000 for a holiday. And Nathan's got this really amazing thing for you, a 6-month or a 12-month. So 6 months with the standard course, 12 months with the VIP, wholesale account, discount account on all of your practitioner prescribed nutrition. If you're working with Nathan personally and he prescribes for you, you will receive up to 40% discount off those supplements, and also full access to all health food shop products as well. So up to 40% off. And as Nathan said, that can actually be a huge saving for you, and he doesn't do this for his patients, so unless you join the program. So that's awesome. So there are 3 love bombs that you will get if you take action quickly. Back to you, Nathan.
So what I'm going to do is share, I've put the link in down below, but I'm also going to share the screen for some of the testimonies that we had from the 3-day event. And really, people have already started, even from the information we've given them in the 3-day, start to get results. And we've even had doctors from overseas completely blown away that we even got interviewed with their circle of influence and helping their patients when it comes to parenting and nutrition. So I'm super excited to really deliver all this content and start transforming lives, because that's what we're here for. That's our purpose. As I said before, I want to create this amazing community of conscious and like-minded parents who are bringing up children that are just completely well, not in love with us, but in love with you, and that there's such belief in themselves that no matter what they choose to do in life, that we have made a generational change, that their children are going to get benefit from what you're helping them with right now. And I want that to continue from generation to generation. So you'll notice that I do a lot of listening, and Mum loves talking. So I'm going to let her have the final words and finish off.
I always get the final word, right? Of course. Nathan, I'll need you to stop sharing that screen for me, please, because it's, yep, that's it. Thank you. Awesome. So who's feeling great about what we've shared? Who's enjoyed it? And once again, my apologies for going over, but we just wanted to give you so much value tonight that we have gone a little bit over. So please do connect on Facebook if we can help you with any questions. If we're not already friends on Facebook, please just send me a friend request. And I want to finish off on, should I do the love bomb first, Nathan, or will I do the story? I'll do the love bomb first. We'll just quickly share this screen again for a second. So the love bomb is that you will get an additional consultation with Nathan and I, or with just Nathan, or with just myself, whoever you would like, valued up to $197, a 30-minute consultation with both of us, so we can, you know, discuss your situation, you know, where you're at now. You can do that before you start the course, if you're doing the course, or if you're choosing not to join us in the course, you'll just have this consultation with us, compliments. So that, I'll just stop sharing that. And I just wanted to finish off with, and I know those people who were on the 3-day breakthrough, this really touched them, right? Because when I really think about our journey, right, and what we've accomplished, and I really only touched the surface of all the challenges that we went through with our son as a small child and as an adolescent, you know, and when I see the relationship that we have today. So if you're thinking, oh, wow, Lillian and Nathan, I would so love to have the relationships that you've got today with our children, right? When I know what we did and the journey that we had and where we're at now, it makes me just feel so hopeful for all of you, that, and hopefully nobody on the call is having as many challenges as we had, right? But let me just share with you, and this will just take a couple of minutes, so please do bear with me, but I'm sure you'll be glad that you heard this. So when our son was only 19 years old, he gave me this for Christmas, right? So I don't know if you can see that. It's a big, beautiful a frame with a poem, and this was my Christmas present. So we talk about, you know, the difference between gifts and just giving of each other. So he said, this Christmas I thought I would write a thank you letter, as this year's Christmas present is like no other. It's the most valued possession I have, yet it costs nothing, and very few are lucky enough to ever experience it. It's the love, understanding and care I receive from my family each and every day of every year. It's the feeling I get when I walk through the door greeted by, hi, how was your day? It's knowing that no matter whatever happens, I can come to a place where I'm respected and appreciated. Mum, never in my 19 years, so this is a few years ago, have I met a mum that compares to you. It's people like you, as few as there are, that make a house a home and make a family a team. There is nothing I could ever do to thank you or repay you enough for the countless years of dedication, blood, sweat and tears you have poured into me. But I will do my best to remind you every day of the amazing, beautiful person you are and how the world would never be the same without you. Forget the big presents and the fancy buffets. If I am with my family on Christmas Day, as far as I'm concerned, I am the luckiest guy alive. So thanks again, Mum, for every minute of guidance and patience. Love, your forever grateful son. Who'd like a Christmas present like that? So that was a few years ago. So that was about 8 years ago, but I'm actually going to quickly read you our cards from last year that my husband and I got. So this is the card that, and they're all beautifully handmade. He's into recycling and, you know, natural things. This is what he wrote to his dad. And remember, they work together. Another year of striving and setting the bar higher. I wouldn't pick anyone else to work alongside, kicking goals and achieving new heights. Thank you for always being the first to put your hand out to help, for supporting my decisions and for putting up with my shit. I wouldn't be the man I am without your wisdom, your understanding and your friendship. I love you. And he wrote some other nice things on the other side as well. And now I'm going to read my card, which I think is more special because it was for me, right? And this is to my precious mum. So this is last year, right? Words cannot express how blessed I am to have a mother like you. Your support, your encouragement, your love, your time, your inspiration, your advice, the way you embarrass me by telling everyone how proud you are, and yes, I do. The way you never give up on me, the way you always tell me the truth, even when I don't want to hear it. All of these things I will never tire of and will forever be grateful for. Your heartfelt approach and care for others will carry on with me as long as I live, like a ripple in water, affecting many, many others. I love you, Mum. I told you I'd cry. And no matter how many times I read those, and I've got many more, right? That's just a couple. And that's because we made the effort, right? That's because we decided that we needed to do something different, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. And I don't want to go back to thinking like where things could be, but if I do just do that very quickly, wow, I don't want to be in that place, right? I don't want to think about where things could have been if we didn't make the changes that we made. So, final words, that's my letter. Remember, for those people who want to come on this journey with Nathan and I for the next 12 plus weeks, it'll actually take you through to the end of 2020. So imagine getting a Christmas present like that this year. Imagine the situation that you're in now, you know, improving and changing over the weeks, so that as you go through Christmas and New Year and into 2020, you can start to see some amazing blessings, you know, come to you with your family. And so just quickly, the 3 love bombs again for the fast action takers are, as well as you can choose from the regular program or the VIP program, we have our 3 love bombs, a 1-hour getting started strategy call with Lillian, myself, of course, and Nathan, the $300 accommodation voucher, and the wholesale account from Nathan. So I'd love to hear in the comments how you're feeling. Once again, I do apologize for going over, but I hope it was worth it for you to hang around. And I'd love to hear what you got from this, you know, what your takeaway was, what your aha was. And Nathan, I'm just going to hand back over to you to wind it up, and let's let everybody enjoy the rest of their evening.
Awesome. So there was one more thing, was there not, that they were going to get for sticking around?
Yes, I thought I said that. So the last one for sticking around was that you will get a free 30-minute consultation with Nathan and I. So anybody who is on the call that heard this or that listened to this, please just put a comment in the chat box. Nathan has popped a Calendly link there so that you can actually book that call with us at any time you like. You do not have to buy a program to get that. That is our gift to you. So Nathan's popped a Calendly link in there, and we would love to offer that to each and every one of you who stuck around with us this evening.
If you go to that link, you'll see a Calendly link on the page, and then you pop that in your browser, and then you can just pick a time. I will be adding more next week as well, and can't wait to have some more clarity calls. I look forward to it. That's one. See, by the end of this 12 weeks, I'm going to say more often, or every time, I look forward to it.
Absolutely. And
so we will be helping reprogram each other's, you know, little switches.
Did you pop the link in so they could get all the information on the 2?
Yes. So the link that's in there now is both the information and the Calendly link.
Okay. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate every one of you for sticking around with us, and I hope you got value. I hope that you choose to come and work with Nathan and I. We're super excited. We've already got a few people in that are going to be working with us, and we would love to make the group, more of us on who really just want the most out of our relationships. And as somebody said, I think it might have been Tara said, I need this for myself, right? And because what we're actually going to teach is not just about parenting. And I did see a comment from Sue as well, who said, is this applicable for teachers? Absolutely it is. It's applicable for anybody, really. You don't even have, it is about parenting, but you're going to learn a lot on health and wellness and relationships and how to speak to each other. So it's going to be awesome. I'm super excited. And once again, a huge thank you. And I want to really thank my amazing son, Nathan, who is patient with me and who, when he's very, very busy, still gets the things done that he has to get done, doing all the techie stuff and helping me with everything I need help with. So thank you, Nathan, for your love, for your wanting to support me in my passion, which is also your passion. But I really appreciate you, and I know that you are such a dedicated practitioner and very knowledgeable. Yes, I can go on. I know I'm a bragging mum, but I really do appreciate you. And I know that you've been getting a lot of love from everybody here tonight. So thank you again, everybody. And until we catch up with you next time, if you've got any questions, please contact us. Remember to book in for your free call. And if you've got any questions around, is this course for you? Or if you've got any specific questions, we can chat about that as well.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.